The Night of the Scissors is an indie survival horror game developed by, and I'm going to butcher this, Tomas Escanwargai and published by C'est La Vie in May of 2022. Our developer notes on the official Steam page that the game is inspired by 80s slasher films, which I can totally see right off the bat with the ludicrous villain we find terrorizing the inhabitants of the game world. We inexplicably have a scissors-wielding assailant, the Snipper, which sounds about as menacing as a jury duty summons, going around stabbing and killing people seemingly at random. In fact, the only glimmer of a reason why we get is that he makes cardboard cutouts out of his targets after he kills and dismembers them so that they can be his friends. Now, I don't know what kindergarten the Snipper attended, but I don't remember covering that when learning basic social skills. And while I can't tell if the shoddy setup for our big bad was an intentional choice as a sort of nod to the less than stellar writing characteristic of classic B horror films, I'm willing to absolve our dev of such a cardinal sin of writing. Be grateful. The reason I'm willing to be so forgiving is because clearly the primary focus of this game is the atmosphere, and the Night of the Scissors is sopping wet with atmosphere. From the VHS static that obscures the screen to the menu sound effects reminiscent of classic Silent Hill, to the polygon power of the character models, this game is as much a love letter to classic survival horror games as it is to 80s slasher films. And let me tell you, this game scratched an itch for me I didn't know I had. But as I found myself filled with delight, it quickly became apparent how much I miss classic survival horror. We can lose sight of their merit if we're not careful, given that modern games are just so damn sexy by comparison. But retro horror games didn't have the luxury of convincing, eye-popping visuals or other resources that are standard in the gaming industry today. Just as slasher films didn't get the A-list actors or the best writers. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. You have to focus much more on world building and atmosphere. You know, the foreplay of generic conventions. Hey, if you're not packing a porn star dick, you gotta at least give the people a show, and mama does this game deliver. Now the gameplay is fairly simple, and the justification for our protagonist being there in the first place is sufficient. You and your buddy are looting an abandoned building in order to get weed money. Your friend, Kev, is the lookout, and you're the hapless moron who has to do the actual looting. And the only thing standing between you and that sweet OG Kush is a poorly placed log propping up a shutter. Oh snap. Literally. Once you've become apprised of your suddenly dire circumstances, the game becomes about solving fairly simple puzzles and searching obscure locations for even more obscure key items in order to find a way out. All the while, the Snipper lurks, waiting to relieve you of your mortal coil for a much more practical cardboard one. What else are friends for? Like I said, the game is simple. Some might say short and sweet. It'll take you anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, but you've got to play this for the atmosphere alone. The creative choices the dev makes in terms of heightening tension by increasing the VHS static and having snipping sounds as the Snipper draws suddenly near are just so effective. And every visual and auditory element from the game's menu to the world presented on screen is so thematic and really just makes the whole damn thing cohere. My only criticism in terms of atmosphere would be a lack of soundtrack. The soundscape could be just a little too bare at times for my liking. And there's clearly musical talent there because that song in the credits absolutely slapped, as the kids say. The game is currently $2.99 US on Steam, and why wouldn't you jump at this gem for such a low price?